Hi there, everybody. Welcome back to 3 News Now. It's Wednesday, February 24th. I'm Stephanie Haney. Thanks for joining me for the top stories from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. We've got a little bit of an old school setup happening today because I'll have a guest join me to talk about a special initiative that's happening at 3 News. That'll be in just a little bit. But first, I hope that everyone's having an opportunity to enjoy this beautiful weather that we're having today. I was shocked when I stepped outside and it was 54 degrees and sunny, so I hope you're out there enjoying it. And if you are, make sure you send us those photos using our WKYC app. You can use the Near Me feature. You can also text them to 216-344-3300, and you can also post them on our Facebook page and also share them using the hashtag 3weather so that we can share those with the rest of Northeast Ohio today on the 5 o'clock show in the trending stories segment. So just keep that in mind while you're out enjoying the weather today. All right, we're going to start with an update about some wild news that we all got yesterday about Tiger Woods and the accident that he was in. His team says that he is expressing gratitude and is recovering after that crash in Los Angeles. This happened about 20 miles south of downtown LA. It was on the border of the Rolling Hills Estates and Rancho Palos Verdes neighborhood, and he sustained some pretty serious injuries to the right side of his lower body. What happened was he was driving an SUV that crashed into a median. It rolled over and ended up on its side on a steep roadway in suburban LA. It's known for wrecks, according to authorities out there. He had to be pulled out through the windshield. Now, no other cars were involved, and authorities did say there did not seem to be any indication that there was any under the influence situation happening, but he does have pretty serious injuries to both the upper and lower parts of his tibia and fibula bones. So the tibia and the fibula are the two long bones in your lower leg. The tibia is the larger bone on the inside. The fibula is the smaller bone on the outside. The tibia, the one on the inside, it's a lot thicker than the fibula. And what had to be done is they had to insert a rod into the tibia. And according to his representatives, Woods also has injuries to his foot bones and ankle bones, and they had to use stabilizing screws and pin. So he's recovering there. Definitely wishing the best to Tiger Woods. Grateful that he's alive. The inside of the car did stay intact, so he did survive that crash, thankfully. Now, we're also getting news today out of the FDA about the Johnson & Johnson single-dose COVID vaccine. FDA scientists have confirmed that it's about 85% effective against the most serious illness that comes from COVID-19. So that serious illness that would result in hospitalization and death. And overall, the vaccine is about 66% effective at preventing moderate to severe COVID-19. So the FDA also says the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is safe to use. Now, the obvious pros to the Johnson & Johnson vaccine are that it's a single shot and it requires only basic refrigeration, so none of these cooling and storage issues that we're seeing with the other vaccines that we've had so far. A big con, however, and this is not compared to the other vaccines, but this is just specifically looking only at the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, is that it's less effective against that variant that was first found in South Africa than it is against the initial SARS-CoV-2 strain that we've seen here. But on Friday, now a panel will debate if the evidence is strong enough to recommend emergency use authorization, and then from there, the FDA is expected to make a final decision within days. The experts are saying it does look like all signs point to that emergency use authorization being granted. And assuming that is the case, Johnson & Johnson says that it could be able to make 20 million shots by the end of the next month and an additional 100 million doses over the summer. So that's great news. But remember, that's, globally, because the vaccine is needed in other places other than the U.S. But we like seeing the fact that we may have access to more vaccines here in the U.S. very, very soon. All right, now let's move on to talk about the stimulus check. Everyone is wondering what's happening with that third stimulus check. Well, a full House vote is expected on Friday on President Joe Biden's proposed $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan. That's the name of his virus relief bill. So if that's approved in the House, then it'll be sent over to the Senate for consideration. Now, if the Senate makes any changes to the bill, it'll have to go back to the House for approval again. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. But here's where things stand right now with those $1,400 checks. For the majority of Americans, it would be a $1,400 check, $2,800 if you are a married couple that files jointly, and $1,400 per dependent. That's a big increase from what we saw for dependents in the past. Now, the size of the check would be that much if you are an individual who earns up to $75,000, and for a married couple that earns up to $150,000, but it would shrink after that, and the hard cutoff would be individuals earning $100,000 and individuals that are married filing jointly that earn $200,000. So after that point, no stimulus checks. Now, how fast could this come? Well, if the IRS sticks to past timetables, Americans could start receiving checks in late March to early April. And the goal here is to have this signed into law by March 14th, because that's when relief does end out. Now, another possible complicating factor is the fact that this is the middle of tax return season. Okay, speaking of relief that people need for COVID-19, we're going to bring in Rachel Polansky now. She is heading up a campaign that's being undertaken by 3 News, and we're going to bring her in right now. Just waiting for Rachel to join us for everything to connect. Hi, Rachel. How are you today?
Hey, Stephanie. How are you doing?
Great. Thanks for joining me here on 3 News Now. Appreciate you taking time to let us know all about your initiative, Keep the Lights on CLE. So, Rachel, tell me, what is the campaign? How did this get started?
Of course, and thanks again for having me. I'm really excited about this campaign. Normally I do investigations, and this campaign came out of an investigation that we did talking with a veteran. Lives in Cleveland. I went to this guy's house, and he told me that his biggest fear was freezing to death if he lost power. And we did this story, and a bunch of people came forward saying, oh my gosh, this is so sad. How can I help, pay his utility bills? So my producer, Phil, and I were talking, and we're like, you know what? People in Cleveland are so generous. This problem is so much bigger than this veteran. Why not do a campaign for all of these people struggling to keep their lights on? And our campaign, Keep the Lights On, CLE, was born. And so we launched it officially this week. It's going to be a month-long effort. We're calling it Keep the Lights On CLE. If you want to donate, you can go to keepthelightsoncele.org and give a donation. Every nickel raised will go toward people here in Northeast Ohio who are struggling to pay their utility bills. These are people that have received utility shutoff notices. Yeah, that's kind of how it got started and kind of where we're at right now.
And this is in partnership with an organization that already exists here in the greater Cleveland area, that's right?
Yes. So we are partnering with CHN Housing Partners. And the reason we did this was twofold. One, they work with people on assistance issues, with utility assistance, rental assistance. So this is their wheelhouse. And then 2, they'll be handling the money. So we didn't really want us to be involved in that part of it. So here's how it will work. Let's say you go to keepthelightsoncele.org right now and donate, which we hope you do. That money won't go, say to that veteran so that he can pay his bills. That money will go directly to First Energy to wipe out the balance on his bills. So you know that your money's going to the right place. You know that it won't be, being exchanged in any hands. It's directly going to pay those outstanding utility bills. And CHN comes into the picture. They'll be doing the vetting for us. So they'll make sure these applicants are truly, Northeast Ohioans who are in need. So that's kind of the background on it.
And there is no shortage of those people right now. We were just talking about before I brought you in here, the fact that people are still waiting on those third stimulus checks. A lot of people in these situations where they're having trouble literally just keeping the lights on.
Right. It's such a sad reality for thousands of people. And in doing this story and looking through the data, it's staggering. Just CHN alone, they offer assistance, and they alone, since the start of the pandemic, have received 15,000 requests for help.
Wow.
And even though they've given out $12 million and made, I think, like 5,500 payments, there's still so many other people. So the need is just limitless. And of course, our campaign, we're not going to solve the utility crisis. We know this. We're just hoping that we can provide some short-term relief to these folks who really need it right now.
Sure. And how long does this campaign run for?
This is going to be a month-long effort. So we kicked off this week on February 22nd, and it'll run until March 22nd. So you have a month to donate. We actually just found out that over the last couple of days, this is breaking news for you too. I haven't even released this yet. We hit $10,000, which is awesome.
Incredible. Yes.
But yes, thank you. But we have a long way to go to our goal. So our goal right now is 30,000. So we are a third of the way there. So again, if people are so inclined, we would love for people to keep donating. And that website is keepthelightsoncle.org. We also, of course, have all the information at wkyc.com/keepthelightson.
And a note that I want to bring to people's attention here. So our company, WKYC, is owned by a great parent company, Tegna. We have something called Tegna Match, and other people may also have access to something similar. So look into that. For example, if we make a donation to a qualified nonprofit organization, which this qualifies, and we have people who have tested it out, so we do know that this qualifies, then you can get a match for your donation. And in some cases, you could even double that match for that donation. So just something for people to keep in mind.
Yeah, you're so right about that. I'm so excited to work for Tegna, where they're going to be double matching all of our donations. So, you make a $100 donation, that's $300. So we are really hopefully going to be able to help a lot of people. And I love too that it's all going to be local. So your money is going to go to Northeast Iowans.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Rachel, thank you so much for joining us to tell us about this organization and everything that you're doing. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for having me, Stephanie.
Thanks, Rachel.
Bye.
All right, that was Rachel Polansky letting us know about Keep the Lights On CLE, which is something that she's heading up with investigative producer Phil Trexler. Make sure you check that out, keepthelightsoncele.org, and also wkyc.com, so you can get all the information for that. All right, let's get back into what are the stories that are topping wkyc.com right now. Let's talk about the COVID-19 numbers. Let's start with the global and the national numbers. These numbers come from Johns Hopkins University. Globally, the total number of reported cases we've seen of COVID right now is at 112,338,428. And the total number of deaths reported globally is 2,490,503. Now, here in the U.S., we've got 4% of the global population, but we've got 25.2% of the global cases and 20.2% of the global reported deaths. Now, here in the U.S., the way those numbers stack up, we've got 28,283,467 reported COVID cases right now, and 503,529 reported COVID deaths. Here in Ohio, the latest numbers out from the Ohio Department of Health show 1,842 new reported COVID cases in the last day. That number is down significantly from yesterday. And the total number of deaths is now at 77, which is also down from yesterday in the last 24 hours. Taking a look at the number of tests coming back positive, the daily percentage was 6.1% on Monday of about 16,000 COVID-19 tests that were done. So that's about 984 positives. And the 7-day average at 5%, that's right at that World Health Organization recommended threshold. In the last day, we've seen 137 new hospitalizations related to COVID. That number is down. The current number of people in the hospital related to COVID also continues to go down, which we're very happy to report. Right now, 1,338 people in the hospital being treated for COVID. And of those, 356 of them are being treated in the ICU. That number also down from yesterday. And 10 new ICU admissions in the last 24 hours. Taking a look at where the vaccine stands here in Ohio right now, about 743,000 people have been totally vaccinated. That's just under 6.4% of our population, and about 35,500 more people in the last day who have gotten that second shot, because again, right now, that's all we have access to are those 2-dose vaccines from Pfizer and Moderna. And the people who have started the vaccine here in Ohio, it's about 12.8% of our population, about 1.5 million people. Now, in the Gordon Square district, the community right now is coming together to try and prevent demolition of the Cleveland Club Azteca building. Developers right now are proposing to turn this into a mixed-use development. This would be right on Detroit Avenue in Gordon Square, but leaders from Cleveland's Latin community are very against this. They were coming together to call this an erasure of history if this is allowed to happen. Because Club Azteca was built in 1900 and it was a social hall for the Mexican American community from the early 1950s until the 2010s. Now, Bond Street Group, which is a Cleveland-based organization, wants to turn the space into retail, office space, and 122 apartments. But these leaders from Cleveland's Latin community sent a letter to the Cleveland Landmark Commission, and they said that what they want to do is they want to table this discussion of demolition, and they want due diligence to be carried out to identify, document, and resolve any adverse effects that would occur to the Mexican-American community from the permanent removal of Club Azteca from the Gordon Square district. So we'll be following that story as it continues. Now, in the Flats, landmark status has been approved for the new Cleveland Whiskey Distillery. Cleveland Whiskey plans to turn this early 1900s fruit and auction building into their new headquarters, and Cleveland City Council did vote to grant the building landmark status. So that will help the plan move forward for the company. The company says that they plan to put about $10 million into the building and another $10 million into equipment over about 18-month period of time where they want to renovate the building. And the plan is to build the new distillery and the distribution center there, and also add a bar and a restaurant. And these are big plans that they couldn't get off the ground until the city made this ruling. So now, because of the granted landmark status, the company will be able to apply for landmark and historic building tax credits with the state and the federal government. And Cleveland Whiskey is hoping to start moving some of the distillery over in the very near future and have part of the building open by the end of the year for guests. And the hope is that this will start sort of a chain reaction to revitalize the East Bank of the Flats. And as a downtown lover who spends some time in the East Bank of the Flats, I have to tell you that area has so much culture, and it would be so great to see those buildings be used and thriving and all of that. So congratulations to Cleveland Whiskey on that, and we look forward to seeing how that develops in the near future. Now, if you're a Cleveland Browns fan, you have been watching the story develop about where J.J. Watt will go because the Houston Texans did agree to release him into free agency, and everybody's been talking about it. It would certainly be nice to see him on the defensive line for the Cleveland Browns. Well, he's been posting some tweets that have been getting some attention. So yesterday he posted that it's going to take some time for him to make a decision. And here's what he said. He said, I scroll through DoorDash for like an hour before I pick a restaurant, man. You're going to have to give me a second to choose a new team and city. I mean, that's the truth. It's difficult to make that decision on DoorDash or Grubhub or Uber Eats or wherever it is. But then he tweeted something that people have been reading a lot of things into. He tweeted, mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. And people are trying to apply some meaning to that and see if he's saying anything about where he'll end up, what potential team he's looking at. You know, the Cleveland Browns have been talked about seriously as a contender for J.J. Watt. Another contender that people keep bringing up are the Pittsburgh Steelers because both of his brothers do play for the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. But can you imagine the story if J.J. Watt played for the Browns and suited up against his brothers twice a year? Would only add to the incredible rivalry that's already there. I mean, I think that would be a great situation. Here's my favorite take on the people trying to interpret what J.J. Watt has been tweeting. This one from a Twitter user, obviously around here. He said, I see J.J. is currently visiting the Great Lakes Science Center in Cleveland, since he's talking about, you know, biology and all of that good stuff. Could be. That could be it. You never know. It could also be that he just likes science. Only time will tell. By the way, last week, Bet Online named Cleveland as the betting favorite to sign J.J. Watt. So there's that. As I said, only time will tell. And here's something else that we get to enjoy over time. There's been a new eagle egg spotted that was late yesterday in the eagle nest in Avon Lake. That's right outside the Redwood Elementary School. The parent eagles, who are known as Stars and Stripes, are now the subject of a 24/7 live stream, which we have linked on WKYC.com so you can watch it. The coordinator for Avon Lake City Schools tells 3 News that an eagle-eyed viewer of the live stream confirmed there was an egg there at a little after 10 p.m. on Tuesday. So excited to see that develop. Last year, there were several eaglets that hatched in that Avon Lake nest. That was last April. So if you got some time on your hands, pop open that live stream. Again, linked on WKYC.com. One more thing to let you know here, Cedar Point has dropped surprises about a possible new roller coaster coming in the 2022 season. They have an event every year called Cedar Point's Winter Chill Out, and it's a charity event. And while people were there, some people stumbled upon a big sign that said, "Top secret, new roller coaster, 2022 authorized personnel only." It's a pretty obvious hint there. Well, also, in another part of the park, there was a whiteboard, and on that whiteboard, there was mention of T-Rex, and that's a specific type of roller coaster, in case you didn't know, and also 526 feet. And then it looked like it was drawn in the same space that's currently occupied by the Antique Cars attraction. So, lots of little clues there that could potentially point to a new roller coaster coming to America's Roller Coast. Well, here's what Cedar Point's Tony Clark told 3 News. He said that Winter Chill Out is a great time for us to share new information and have a little fun while we're at it. Will anything they saw come to fruition? Maybe, maybe not. One thing that is for sure, though, is that is the end of your 3 News Now update here for Wednesday, February 24th. I'll see you next up on What's New with your trending stories in the Clicking in Cleveland segment. And I'll see you back here tomorrow with more 3 News Now. Everyone, stay safe, be well, and enjoy this beautiful weather today. It really is phenomenal. I'm Stephanie Haney.